For the sake of time, we have a lot to cover today, so I'm going to hop in. But hi, everyone, and welcome. Thank you so much for joining today's tutorial on the State Water Quality Protection Areas Statewide Assessment Tool. My name is Alexander Stella, and I am the Coastal Ecosystems Project Manager at Coastal Quest. And I'm excited to walk you through this updated tool and explore how it can support future water quality protections across California's coast. Today, I'm joined by my colleague Sadie Waddington, who will be helping with technical support during the webinar. So if anything comes up on the tech side, feel free to reach out to Sadie directly via the meeting chat or direct message. We're also really glad to have our partners from the State Water Resources Control Board with us today. So Beverly, I'm going to turn it over to you for a quick intro.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Alex. My name is Beverly. I'm an environmental scientist in the Ocean Standards Unit at the State Water Board, and I mainly work on the state water quality protection areas, whether it be through nominations and overall management, and then I also work on the beach monitoring program. Happy to be here, and it's been great working with Coastal Quest, and happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Beverly. And before we get started, I just wanted to add a quick note that the webinar is being recorded. So if you prefer to not appear on the recording, please feel free to keep your camera off. Okay, as you probably saw, people are adding in the chat, they're introducing themselves, where you're joining from, your favorite beach in California, or wherever you're joining from. We would love to see those coming in to see where you're all joining us from. So in the meantime, feel free to introduce yourself in the chat, and I'm going to continue with a few housekeeping items. So we will be recording this webinar and sharing it with all registrants, as well as slides and all links that are shared throughout the presentation we will be providing after the webinar. If you have any technical issues, again, reach out to Sadie. And the Q&A is open, and we invite you to use it throughout the entire presentation. So if you have a question, we will have a Q&A portion at the end of the session, but please add your questions to the Q&A so you don't forget and that we can answer. And lastly, closed captioning is available. So if you go to the toolbar at the bottom of your screen, you should be able to see both the Q&A button as well as the show captions, if that's something you'd like. Great. And before we dive in, I'd like to start with a brief poll so we can learn a little more about what brought you here today and your interests in state water quality protection areas. And your responses will really help us better understand how to support participants after the webinar. So, Sadie, if you could launch that poll, that would be great. And I'm going to dive into the webinar objectives. Feel free to fill out this poll as we are walking through the presentation. Again, in case you're just joining us, my name is Alexander Stella, and I'm the Coastal Ecosystems Project Manager at Coastal Quest. And our goal today is to make the SWQPA tool approachable and useful for advocates, agencies, tribes, community-based organizations, and members of the public across California. By the end of the tutorial, you should feel comfortable exploring the tool on your own and use it to identify promising areas where future water quality protections may be needed. We also hope that this conversation will help connect water quality protections to California's broader 30 by 30 conservation goals and show how protecting water quality can also support healthier ecosystems, stronger communities, and more resilient shorelines. Here's what we'll cover today. First, I'll start with a brief introduction to Coastal Quest and our role in supporting coastal resilience and water quality work. Then I'll talk about what a state water quality protection area is, why they matter, and how they fit into California's broader coastal protection landscape. And from there, I'll share the story behind the SWQPA statewide assessment tool, how it started as a pilot effort, what we learned from the pilot tool, and why it has now been expanded statewide. Then we'll spend time walking through the tool itself, including the data layers it includes, how to navigate it, and how it can inform water quality priorities and potential nominations. And finally, we'll close out with a conversation about how you might use this tool in your own work or your community, and we'll have time for questions. Okay. Before we discuss the tool, I wanted to share a little bit about Coastal Quest. Coastal Quest works with partners to accelerate solutions for resilient communities, healthy ecosystems, and a changing climate. Across our programs, we work with California coastal and shoreline communities, jurisdictions, community-based organizations, tribes, agencies, and other partners to advance climate resilience planning and implementation. And much of our work focuses on moving priority projects from idea to action by providing funding, financing, technical assistance, and partnership support. At a high level, our work is guided by two goals. The first being building multi-benefit solutions for healthy and resilient coast and increasing resilience for vulnerable communities and economies. The SWQPA statewide tool is just one example of how we support partners in turning data, collaboration, and public interest into strong coastal protection outcomes. So, what exactly is a state water quality protection area, or as I'm going to refer to it for the rest of the presentation, an SWQPA? At its core, an SWQPA is a type of coastal water quality protection designated under the California Ocean Plan. So these designations were intended to help protect ocean waters from pollution and maintain the water quality needed to support marine life, natural resources, recreation, and other coastal benefits. There are two types of SWQPAs in California. The first is areas of special biological significance, also called ASBS, and general protection areas. So ASBS are places that the State Water Board determined to have special biological value and where maintaining natural water quality is especially important. In these areas, water discharge is not allowed and generally limited. And discharge is only approved in these areas with required permitting through the water board. For general protection areas, these areas were actually developed later in 2012 to help clarify the broader SWQPA framework in the Ocean Plan, and they help limit new point source wastewater outfalls in designated areas. So in the GP, there is no new point source allowed. So SWQPAs protect marine species and biological communities from undesired alteration in water quality. Today, California has 34 SWQPAs, all of which are also designated as ASBS or areas of special biological significance, and these areas cover important stretches of California's coast. However, all of these SWQPAs were established in the 1970s, and since then there have been pollution pressures and coastal conditions that have significantly changed since the 1970s and when these protection areas were established. So this creates an important opportunity for us to think about where additional water quality protections may be needed today. For example, the California Coastkeeper Alliance has recently submitted a nomination for a new ASBS designation at Point Sur Marine Protected Area, where they identified a potential for additional water quality protections. Okay, now that we have a shared understanding of what an SWQPA is, I wanted to talk about the tool that we're here to explore today. The SWQPA statewide assessment tool was created to help bring relevant coastal and water quality information together in one place so it can better support future protected area siting, nomination, review, and public access for useful GIS data. So one thing we heard through conversations with the water board is that valuable water quality and coastal resource information exists, but it's in many different formats and databases and often not consistent. Some information can be in a GIS database, it can live in spreadsheets or in reports, and it's difficult to bring all that data together and compare it across regions. So this tool really helps synthesize that data into a more accessible format that can support research, planning, and decision making. caveat, this tool is not meant to be the only resource needed for a nomination, but it is a strong starting point. It can help users understand what information is available and what coastal areas may warrant a closer look for future water quality protections. So the statewide tool actually started a lot sooner than 2026. Coastal Quest began partnering with the State Water Resources Control Board in 2020, where we worked to identify how we could support statewide water quality goals. And through this process, state water quality protection areas, SWQPAs, emerge as a strong opportunity because they connect water quality protection with coastal management, public participation, and California's 30 by 30 conservation goals. So in 2021, Coastal Quest worked with water boards to better understand the SWQPA nomination process and design a pilot effort that focused on what kind of data is needed to support future nominations and how to help inform the review of those future nominations. So after securing funding in 2022, Coastal Quest and the State Water Board launched the Central Coast Pilot Tool. Maybe some of you attended that tutorial a few years ago to support water quality management and protection. And that pilot effort really involved building that data inventory, identifying useful data sources, translating information into geospatial formats, and working closely with state and regional water board staff to fill in and resolve any data gaps. So, following this pilot, the State Water Board and the California Department of Fish and Wildlife expressed interest in a broader statewide coastal GIS research. And in response to that, Coastal Quest secured private funding in 2025 to update and expand the tool for the full California coastline, which brings us to our tool today. So for the Central Coast Pilot Tool, again, we partnered with the state and Central Coast water boards, and the goal was to support coastal water quality protection and advance California's 30 by 30 efforts. And the pilot really focused on building data tools, identifying management needs, and beginning outreach around future nominations. And through this pilot, we identified barriers, especially regarding access to data, best practices, and opportunities to inform future SWQPA nominations and statewide expansion. Now, the statewide SWQPA tool is designed to help users look across California's coasts and assess areas for their ecological, biological, recreational, infrastructure, and water quality values. So, our hope is that the tool will support conversations about where additional protections may be useful, how existing protected areas relate to surrounding coastal resources, and where there may be opportunities to strengthen water quality protections near marine protected areas or other important places. Some of the data included in the tool relates specifically to biodiversity, habitat, recreation, and water quality, and we're hoping that these layers can help users. Oh, if you can mute if you're off mute, that would be great. Thank you. Together, we hope these tools and these layers can help users develop a more complete picture of coastal areas that may benefit from additional protection. Um, Additionally, we're hoping that you can use the tool to identify areas of special biological significance that already exist and explore locations where new or strengthened protections may be appropriate. By bringing these data sets together, we're really hoping to inform conversations among agencies, advocates, communities, and partners. And this matters because expanding and strengthening the SWQPA network can help protect water quality, sustain ecosystem function, safeguard biodiversity, and enhance coastal resilience, supporting California's broader 30 by 30 goals. So our statewide tool is designed to help the public explore where new water quality protections may be needed across California, as well as support California state water boards in reviewing future SWQPA nominations. So some of the data included in the tool includes infrastructure, natural resources, species biodiversity, habitat, recreation, and water quality. And together, these layers can help users develop a more complete picture of coastal areas that may benefit from additional protection. So now I'm going to provide a quick demo of the tool. I'm going to stop sharing screen and go to my next screen where we're going to walk through the tool. and some of its features. Give me 1 second. Okay. Feel free to follow along on your own screen or on my screen. Um, oh, sorry. Okay, great. Okay, so this is our statewide water quality tool. And you'll see here in this corner, there are 7 different groupings that we use to group the layers. There are 59 layers in the tool. So these 7 groupings define key attributes that we hope will help someone who is looking at a potential site for a nomination to identify the intrinsic value of that site. So all of these 7 categories include data on water quality, biodiversity, different types of discharges, and maybe even locations of protected areas. Each data layer was specifically added because it added something that would show the relevancy to support an SWQPA nomination and really show how the region has that intrinsic value that is required for a nomination and to build a case for why you think this area might qualify for water quality protections. And just a quick note that if there are any layers that we acquired from existing GIS layers, those layers will get updated on the SWQPA map as they're updated on the source map. So for what already exists on GIS, that will continue to be updated automatically. Okay, I'm going to walk through an example of how we can identify a potential site for a SWQPA nomination. So if I was curious to see where an SWQPA could overlap with an already existing MPA, and I wanted to know if there's an opportunity to provide better enhanced water quality protections, I could look on managed coastal areas. And for each of these groupings, you want to make sure that you have this turn on function. So unclick the closed eye and open it up. And for each of the groupings, you'll want to make sure that you do that before trying to open any of the layers in the grouping. Okay, so I want to look at what marine protected areas already exist. So I'm going to turn on that feature. We see points all across California for marine protected areas that are established. And I also want to know what areas of special biological significance already exist. So I'm going to click that as well. And now I'm going to zoom in to San Diego. And here you see some sites that have overlapping MPAs as well as ASBS. So those are pretty protected water quality sites. However, I'm noticing down here at the south, right on the border of Mexico, we're looking at the Tijuana River Mouth State Marine Conservation Area. So this is an MPA. It's our most southern MPA in California, but it is not an ASBS site. So to me, that signals, oh, this would be a great opportunity to look into whether this site has additional value to be considered for an ASBS nomination. So first thing I want to look at is, all right, let's look at the water quality in this area. Let's see these geo-tracker sites. The geo-tracker sites on our tool signify sites that have impact groundwater or have the potential to impact groundwater. So here I'm seeing that there are a lot of sites that can be impacted by groundwater pollution and potentially pesticides in the groundwater. So okay, this signals to me this site is has a potential impact on the water quality of this MPA and this coastal area. Okay, that's one example. Looking at our natural resources category, let's say I wanted to look at the presence of kelp persistence. Oh, I didn't follow my own rule. You have to turn on that category one first. So make sure those category eyes are on. So looking at kelp persistence. Okay, in the tool, I'm seeing that there is a lot of kelp presence around this area, this MPA, and that signifies to me that it's an important kelp habitat and can often also signify high levels of biodiversity and a need to protect the water quality in this area to ensure that the kelp forest continues to thrive. Okay, great. I can have an argument for kelp persistence in this area. Now looking at wetlands and estuaries, I'm seeing this MPA is right by a very large estuary wetland, the Tijuana Slough, and I can also use that as a case for the fact that water from this estuary and this wetland area will naturally flow into this MPA, and any pollutants or any potential harmful algal bloom threats may impact my system and may show negative effects on the water quality in this MPA. Next, let's look at some species. Maybe this area is important for a few species. So if I unclick the species and I look at the rockfish, cabezone greenling, lingcod, I'm seeing that this is a huge and significant fishery for these types of fish, and there's clear evidence that this is a critical fish habitat for these species. Maybe we're more concerned about mammals. Let's look at the harbor seal range. It's clear that harbor seals have, reside in this MPA, and they use this MPA often as habitat. Or the Guadalupe seal fur. Again, clear evidence that this seal uses this MPA. So our hope, this is just one example of showing how you can use the layers included in this tool to really highlight the value and the need to protect a certain area. So um, my suggestion is if you have a site in mind, to walk through these 7 groupings and really explore what data is there that you can use to advocate for that site being protected and to show that this site has importance for water quality, habitat, biodiversity, recreation. And really, we're hoping this tool will help you make the case that a site you're trying to protect is worth protecting. Um, I'm now going to switch back to our presentation. And again, we will have time for questions, and I can go back to the site. Okay. Okay. So the SWQPA statewide assessment tool really provides a great opportunity to enhance water quality protections across California's coastline. And you can actually use this tool to take action. So one of the most exciting parts of the SWQPA process is that it provides a pathway for public participation. So any person, even someone who is not even connected to the science world, can submit a nomination for areas of ocean water and request that they be designated as areas of special biological significance or the general protection area through the process described in California's Ocean Plan. So anyone can submit a nomination. And this is really a timely moment to be thinking about SWQPAs and their importance and impact on California's water quality. Because as California continues to advance its 30 by 30 conservation goals, elevating water quality on the coast can really help ensure that those designations and those 30 by 30 conservation goals are met as part of our broader conservation and protection of California's coast. So I mentioned a little bit as I was showing you the tool. To nominate an SWQPA, you have to prove 3 things. You have to prove that the area is located in ocean waters that are defined by the Ocean Plan, that the area has intrinsic or recognized value for scientific, commercial, recreational, or aesthetic reasons, and third, that the area needs protection. So you might ask, well, how can I prove these 3 things? That's where tools like our SWQPA tool come in. Maps, reports, data, photographs can all help show these 3 requirements so that you can nominate a potential site. And our goal is to use the SWQPA site statewide assessment tool to help people gather that information and understand some of that value that a site can bring and explore potential nomination sites, identify available data, and think through where additional information may be needed. Again, I mentioned a recent example of a nomination, the California Coastkeeper Alliance nomination for a new ASBS designation at Point Sur. And this nomination can really help provide a helpful reference for what a detailed public nomination could look like. And so Sadie's going to share in the chat those resources for anyone who wants to learn more. But you can dive into their nomination, their press release, and learn how they really framed their recent nomination as an example. Okay, now we're going to transition into our Q&A section.
Thank you so much, Alex. Such great information. Really appreciate that and the tour of the space. I'm going to go ahead and spotlight Beverly as well. Here we go. Thank you so much for being here from the water board, Beverly. Appreciate it. I'm having a look in our Q&A. I'm not seeing questions typed in, but you are also welcome to raise your hand, and we can call on you. We'll unmute you, and welcome to take questions. And Beverly, if there's anything that you'd like to add or anything from Alex's presentation, if other things to add on to it, please feel free to share as well. Great.
Great, thank you. Yeah, really great presentation. And I love the way you went through the tool and how it can really help highlight and show how different areas can go through the nomination process and how it can be used to help support a nomination for designation. So yeah, really great presentation.
Thanks, Beverly.
Thanks, Beverly. For
Again,
me, it's that make sure that that eye icon is open because I've definitely
yes.
gone in there. It's a little bit of a trial and error sometimes as you're finding the different layers, but there's some really, it's a great way to explore in a very user-friendly platform. Okay, so I see couple questions coming in. Thank you.
Okay.
And um, if if you would like, so Grace, I'm Grace Young. I'm happy to read your question, but if you would like to raise your hand and read it out yourself or share it yourself, please feel free to do so. But I'm happy to read it for you in lieu of that. So if I don't see your hand up, I'll go ahead and move forward. So we have a question. If you want to request additional available layers, then who is the main contact?
That would be Coastal Quest. And are you suggesting like a future layer to include in the map? Is that what your question?
It seems potentially that Grace is,
Okay.
and
Yes.
Grace, feel free to add to that if you'd like, but
Yeah,
yeah, they
can you
would,
hear me?
yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Hi.
great. Yeah, thank you for the presentation. It was very detailed and very informational. Yeah, if I want to request additional layers, such as in like water quality
Yes.
features, then I would just contact or email you, right?
Yes. And we'll provide my contact information at the end of the webinar. But yes, that would be great. And thank you for
Okay, yeah,
enhancing our tool.
thank you.
Great, thank you. And so we have another question from Sarah, and I'm sorry, I'm going to help try and pronounce your last name, Spinuzzi. So Sarah, if you want to raise your hand and unmute and ask your question, otherwise I'll go ahead and ask it for you. Okay, so the question is, what are the underlying sources of data? So where are these layers of data coming from? And I would like to add, how often are they updated? So how are we
Yeah.
keeping them current?
Great, thanks. So the data for this tool was acquired through many different sources. So some of that was on online data that was already available on an existing GIS database, or oftentimes through government websites, or government databases where water quality data or habitat or fisheries data is available. And in other, for example, for the ASBS exception outfalls that are part of this map, um, we had to scan through the nominations and the responses from water boards to find the um, coordinates for those points and then develop a spreadsheet to upload that. So it was a bunch of different databases, things like state and government agency websites, existing databases, but also going through facility and regulated regulation reports. And in terms of how often it's updated, so it depends on the data type. As I mentioned early on in the tutorial, um, data that is sourced from existing GIS databases that were added to our map will be updated as frequently as those databases are updated. And then data that we inputted ourselves, our hope is to update and double check the data sources at least yearly to make sure that the data is up to date, that there's not a new database or new updated information. And so we're hoping to at least check each data source once a year for those that aren't automatically updated.
Great. Thank you so much. We have some great comments. People are giving some feedback. This is an amazing tool. Thank you so much for
Great.
sharing. Yeah, so really appreciate that. And I see Sarah, you have your hand up. Do you want to add an additional question? Go ahead.
Thanks. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, I just had a follow-up question. So for each layer, I assume that the data may likely come from different sources. And my question is if that source information is somewhere in your web app. So like, for example, like this layer comes from,
hmm
I don't know, CDN or whatever.
hmm we don't have that listed as of right now, but I think we could work with our GIS partner to get that listed.
A great
Cool, thank you.
suggestion.
Thank you.
Yeah. Super. I see another question coming in. So, are there similar tools that can be used to look at water quality in bays or estuaries? What STA rules are different for protecting water quality in non-ocean spaces?
Beverly, I'm going to hand that one to you.
Yeah, no, that is a really good question. I know, so there are a lot of, so State Water Board has a lot of databases such as CEDN, SWAMP, CWIX that have a lot of information on just the waters throughout the state of California, whether it be coastal or inland. In terms of a statewide GIS tool, um, I am not familiar with one. I know, Laurel, I know you're on the call as well. If you happen to know of any inland GIS tools that are available that are similar.
Nothing like this Coastal Quest resource, but we do have the impaired water body statewide kind of mapping and GIS layers that kind of gives you a perspective of our most impacted water bodies that include surface waters. And then we have GeoTracker that has more information about the impacts to groundwater, but we don't have one tool to rule them all, unfortunately.
I am putting in the chat a resource for the San Francisco Estuary Institute's California Aquatic Resource Inventory that we did add to this map, but that data is included in this map, but this is also another tool that is used to show water quality in other areas, including estuaries.
Great. And I see another question from Beth Tepper. Am I correct in noticing that some or all of the data sources repeat in each category? I hadn't noticed that. So I don't know if you want to share screen on the tool, if that's easy, and we could
Yeah,
just take a look at that. And Beth, feel free to raise your hand and we can unmute you. And if you want to tell us a little bit more. So we'll just jump into the tool here. We'll just look at the
yes.
categories again.
Beth, are you meaning the layers within each category? Because those are different. Sorry, I think my Wi-Fi is a little overloaded.
Okay, no
Yeah, I
problem.
was just doing a thank you very much
Yes.
for this. Just doing a quick search and
Hmm.
just bouncing around, and I was just wondering if I guess any, some, or all within each category are like the same data sources, but overlapped because of the category.
Um,
Basically, like if I'm like, I want to know everything for an area, do I need to go through and click every single one?
yes, you would need to, so if you wanted to see every data layer within managed coastal areas, for example, you would have to unclick, sorry, this isn't frozen, but you would unclick managed coastal areas and then every single one of these data layers if you wanted to see it all. I'm gonna stop sharing, try to reload this because I want to show you that the layers do um, they do layer on top of each other, so you can see data points.
So Alex, if you made it visible, the top layer, would all the other layers underneath it become visible, or do you need to click each one
Each each layer is
category?
its own. No, each layer is its own data set. So there is no like if you click the eye icon, sorry y'all, I'm trying. It's loading. If you click here in cartography, if I unclick this, it's unfortunately not going to unclick all of these, so you have to open each layer and then you can see them layered on top of each other. So our partner Green Info did a great job of really trying to make sure that as you add more and more layers, you can see data um, on top of each other. So say I have this, these are the boundaries to define coastal zone. Say I had that and then I wanted to see the marine protected areas. Guess we're in a bad spot. You should see those on top of the layer. So this is a marine protected area, this one. So if you're seeing, oh, it's kind of hard to see, you might want to like take this one off, for example, and then you can better see, okay, these MPAs are within the coastal 3 mile buffer. We can probably take counties off to make it look a little less cluttered, things like that. But obviously it'll get more and more cluttered with the more layers you add on top. But you should be able to see, for example, like when I put the marine protected areas on the map as well as the areas of special biological significance, you can see that overlap. Um, and we saw that earlier as well. And then if I wanted to add, um, let's see, let's do the cormorant range. Oh, that would be added on top where you could still see, okay, they're in marine protected areas. They have the cormorant range. These are the SBS. So you're able to put multiple layers on top, and hopefully explore it that way.
So it sounds like by turning everything on, it would be hard to see everything. So it's
Yeah,
really best to sort of
definitely.
kind of
We
think
can do an
through the
example
different
of that.
analysis.
This
Yeah,
is all of the species I'm turning on. I mean, it would definitely be a fun visual
but
experiment.
difficult to extrapolate
Yeah,
the data.
but
Yeah,
but the goal is that you can add layers. It's just the more layers you add, the more complex and hard to discern
the
it
mapping is.
becomes. But
So then we have
good.
another question, Alex.
Yes.
Can we actually download? Can you create your layers of mapping and then maybe even download a graphic? Is that
Oh,
possible? Or can you download the data? Is that something that is possible?
you should be able to. I'm in the owner. Um, oh no, no,
Login?
I'm not. Yes. I think you should be able to download the data. Hold on.
Okay. But could you download your output? You've created a map, you've created the
I think you could take
intersection.
a screenshot of
Okay,
the
so
map, but I don't
screenshots, no
think you
visual.
could download if you made like a combination. I will have to double check that with our GIS partner, and can get back to you if you want to provide your email. You can
Great.
privately message me if you want.
Perfect. Thank you. And we can, when we follow up with those who have attended, we'll be sharing the recording and some of these
Yes.
questions we can answer in that as well.
Yes.
Great. I'm just having a look. Oh, so there's some great gratitude in the chat as well. Thank you. And just a recognition of this information would help build public trust and sharing that too. Um, so let's see. Well, some good thank yous in there. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Well, if there are no more questions, I do have a few more slides. Sadie, are you seeing any more? Can we move on?
We're ready.
Okay.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Um, thank you so much for participating and joining. Again, I mentioned this nomination process a few slides ago, but we Coastal Quest it wants to support you in exploring future SWQPA opportunities and advancing continued water quality protections along California's coasts. So if you have an idea for a potential nomination site or you want to talk through how this tool could support your work, please scan this QR code or use the link that Sadie added to the chat to schedule a 30-minute conversation and we can work together to look at how that nomination can be developed or just look at potential sites if you're interested in getting involved. Again, the process is open to the public, so even if you feel less than familiar with water quality protections, that's okay. You are welcome to submit a nomination. And after you schedule this 30-minute chat with me, I'll follow up by email and invite you to share any questions, side ideas, background information that can help us make the most use of our time together. And I just wanted to thank our partners, the California State Water Resources Control Board, especially Kat Fike and Beverly, for their support and partnership in developing both the pilot tool and this statewide tool, and also our GIS partner, Green Info Network, who developed both the pilot and statewide tool. It's been great to work together and collaborate to make this resource. And finally, I want to thank all of you so much for spending time with us today. We really hope that you'll explore the tool, use it in your own work, and reach out to Coastal Quest if we can support you in your water quality priorities, potential nominations, or if you're interested in providing this training to one of your agencies or even public partner, we would be happy to support and provide a similar training. But that is all for us. Thank you so much again for joining, and I hope you learned a lot more about state water quality protection areas and how you can play a role in enhancing California's water quality.